everybody, my name is Kubits, your go-to Skyrim mod compilation creator, here to help you make your game look as good as possible. This video contains a mod list that will bring Skyrim to the next generation without getting too bogged down in the details. Whether you are looking to start from scratch with a brand new vanilla game, or you're a modding veteran here to scope out something new, this is the video for you. Plenty of people have made fantastic mods to improve the visual quality of Skyrim, but many of them are a little too stylized for my taste. No nude anime girlfriends here, my friends. We are here to take Skyrim's originally intended aesthetic and upgrade it so that it fits into this generation of fantasy games. But as to not be too cruel to you weebs, you'll certainly find a bunch of landscape and lighting mods that are for everyone, even your anime girlfriends.
Degenerates.
So here is a lore-friendly, safe-for-work, immersion-focused graphics mod list for those of you looking to improve Skyrim's visuals without moving them too far away from Skyrim's original design. This is a list mainly centered around the special edition, since I know that is both the most played and most stable version of the game. However, many of these mods are also available for the standard edition. For those of you new to modding, be aware of your PC specs before installing all of these mods. For higher-end gaming PCs, they should all run like butter. But for those of you with less powerful PCs, you may have to pick and choose, in addition to selecting the performance versions of some of these mods. On screen, you can see my PC specs in case you're curious about them, and so you know I get virtually no lag when playing, even when I'm recording at a high resolution. Alright, with all that stuff out of the way, let's get to the mod list. Now it's time to transform your potato NPCs into something much more human-like. There are two mods I'd highly recommend installing that get the details just right. First is SkySight Skins. This mod is a super customizable retexture and remap for male NPCs with absurd attention to detail. The mod is also very lore-friendly, not making the characters cartoonish or soft-looking. It's just unadulterated, super high-quality improvements to the vanilla faces and bodies of men in the game. Similarly, Tempered Skins for females is the version I'd recommend most for improving the women NPCs in Skyrim. Now, before I get into talking about this mod, I did say this mod list was going to be safe for work. And this mod can be, you just need to select the never nude option when installing it. However, there is nudity on the mod page. I say this because I've gotten more than a few comments from parents saying they watch my mod compilations with their kids, which is adorable, of course, but whew, just don't click on my other videos that aren't mod compilations, okay? So with that warning out of the way, I love this mod. It makes such terrific improvements, not just to the female NPC faces, but also their bodies. Way more detail on hands and skin really helped bring Skyrim into 2019. There were also options for making sure your NPCs are a little worn down, like the vanilla aesthetic if you like it that way. You know, because immersion. Just like SkySight, Tempered Skins gives you a lot of customization so you can really tailor mod your game, which is always fabulous. Next up, we have the Eyes of Beauty, a mod that gives a huge improvement to NPCs. To be honest, it's just the best eye retexture out there. In my opinion, this is one of the most important mods for creating immersive dialogue exchanges with characters. In general, human beings tend to focus on the eyes in a conversation, and it's no different even when we're playing video games. The Eyes of Beauty will absolutely make your NPCs look more alive. Superior lore-friendly hair is an HD retexture of all the hair on the characters in Skyrim. As of now, I haven't been able to find another mod that transforms the hair on NPCs to something a little bit less like Play-Doh that didn't also end up being anime style, or just looking kind of out of place. So even though this mod was released in 2013 and doesn't quite have the same quality of other hair mods that have been updated more recently, it is definitely the best option if you don't want the characters in your world to look too anime inspired or like they walked right out of a hair salon. Luckily, with a really good ENB, the blockiness isn't super noticeable. However, I certainly hope that some brave modder eventually comes along to create a more next-gen collection of hair models, so to speak. Even though the polygons could use some improvement, there are a couple different options available for whatever style you're looking for. Want the hair to be cleaner and shinier? Want it to be a little more rough looking? It's up to you when you install this mod. On the other hand, if you don't care about the anime-like appearance or actually prefer it, you should definitely give diversity in install. It changes the appearances of all the NPCs in Skyrim to be much more varied. Not everyone has the same kind of hairstyles, not even the same kind of height and body types. And it also replaces the hair on NPCs with the Apache Sky hair models. Notoriously one of the best hair model additions out there for Skyrim. The physical diversification of NPCs is something I always really appreciate in mods, especially since I've played the game so much. And this mod definitely makes NPCs look better in a lot of ways. That said, I personally find the salon hair a little bit off-putting, so I don't really use this mod that much myself. That being said, it really is a great mod, and I'd recommend it to anyone who is okay with that aesthetic, which is why I put it on this list. Still on the topic of hair, I'd also recommend Beard's 2K resolution, just to touch up the appearance of hair on NPCs' faces. Overall, it makes the beard meshes fit much better on NPCs, especially with the prior enhancements I mentioned. Super straightforward mod. But it's just another little detail that's gonna make all your NPCs look better. Now, it's time to address the most potato-like of all the NPCs in Skyrim, the children. I personally use RS Children because I think it does the best job of making the children look both unique and also like they're actually the same species as the NPC adults. Another nice thing about this mod is it varies up the clothing for kids, so their clothes now reflect much more accurately their status in the world. Beggar, son of a jarl, farmer, and so on. Some of the hair is kinda anime, but the stylized look generally isn't too noticeable in my opinion. And all the other improvements it makes definitely makes it worth installing. Alright, next it's time to address the clothing in Skyrim. The vanilla clothing textures are beyond outdated and need a serious upgrade. That's why I couldn't recommend Rustic Clothing more. I just love this mod. It is by far the best clothing retexture I have ever seen. Not only does it increase the resolution of the outfits in the game, but it also adds more detail to them. A touch of blood, a bit of dirt, a little stain. The retexture is super pretty, very vanilla friendly, and even gives a little bit more life to the NPCs with the use of all of those details. You might not think you need this mod because all it does is retexture clothing, but trust me, you need this mod. After installing Rustic Clothing, I seriously cannot go back to playing Skyrim without it. The next mod is called Idian Book of Silence. It is a massive collection of retextures that covers armors, creatures, weapons, and even locations. In my opinion, the lack of visual improvement to the armors in Skyrim's Special Edition release was super disappointing. And boy, do they look awful in 2019. In other words, you have to download a Idian. Everyone has it. It's just absolutely necessary. And since we have some other landscape mods coming up, I mainly recommend the armor, weapon, and creature packs. There just isn't a mod out there that's that comprehensive, and frankly, that can replace it. After Idian, we have my favorite mod on this list, Noble Skyrim 2K. This is the best landscape retexture out there, no question. This mod is nothing but delicious eye candy. Literally every time I reach Riverwood on a new character, I cannot help but stare at all of the different improvements this mod provides. Not only does it replace the lower quality textures from vanilla buildings and landscapes, but the changes in detail in the color scheme is just superb. You might be able to find landscape retextures out there that are higher resolution, but in my opinion, none yet that look better. Even having had this mod installed for ages, I am constantly impressed at how delightful the detail is on the bridges, houses, tiles, and so forth. If you were to install any texture pack on this list, I recommend this one the most. There's even a performance-friendly version for people with weaker PCs, so there isn't any excuse. Next up, we've got a fantastic, fairly new mod that will never leave my load order. 3D Trees and Plants replaces a massive amount of plant textures in Skyrim with extremely vivid 3D models. Beautiful retextures, terrific animations, Overall, this mod provides a tremendous improvement to the landscapes in Skyrim. It makes everything look so lifelike and glorious. Even little flowers on the road will look stunningly realistic. Especially combined with an ENB, this mod really makes the forests in Tamriel look next gen. Sticking with plants, Verdant is a mod that adds a lot more volume to the grass all around Skyrim. If you want to get a much more majestic view of the tundra, or really take in the beauty of the overgrown landscape in Falkreath, this is a great mod to install. Personally, I think the vanilla grass is way too flat, and this mod adds a great additional 3D element to Skyrim, and overall just makes it feel much more wild. The next mod I'd really recommend is Realistic Waters 2. This is a must-have water texture overhaul. It even improves some of the ambient sound effects as well. Really, if you care about the appearance of your landscapes at all, you cannot overlook this mod. Vanilla waterways go from bland and blocky with overly similar currents to totally dynamic eye candy. Rivers move like rivers, ponds are static like ponds. It just gives an actual variety to the bodies of water in Skyrim that was desperately needed. Plus, it even gives you the option to add waves on the coast of Skyrim. Oh, how I love this mod to death. I also use the optional watercolor add-on, which provides a much lighter tint to the water in Skyrim. It definitely isn't for everyone, but if you really like that bright fantasy style, I definitely recommend giving it a go. And if you're turned off by that, don't worry, Realistic Waters 2 doesn't necessarily need to be that bright. In my opinion, if you're a stickler for detail, Blended Roads is pretty much essential to download. Essentially, it takes the textures you have for Skyrim's roads and gives them a much more 3D appearance, as well as blending the terrain into the pathways to give a much smoother transition on the edges of roads. Those of you who don't really care about little seams here and there won't need this mod, but having played Skyrim enough, I definitely keep it in every load order. Next up, Enhanced Lighting and FX is a mod most people consider to be essential. It overhauls Skyrim's lighting system to be much more realistic and dramatic. Light inside is now emitted from the actual sources like candles and windows, and dungeons end up being much more spooky and atmospheric. This also isn't really going to impact your performance, so you have to give it a try. Similarly, Vivid Weathers is a mod that reworks the weather effects and uses colors to make the game look much more picturesque. It adds tons of custom effects into the game, from thick fog to blizzards to particle snowflakes. Honestly, if your computer isn't too powerful, but you still want a nicer visual style in your game and more varied weathers, you definitely have to give this mod a go. Next up, we have an ENB. This, for those who aren't aware, is a lighting overhaul type mod that is actually run separately from your mod manager. Using a specific exe and DLL file you'll download, it reworks the graphics like nothing in a mod manager ever could. In my opinion, if you don't mind a couple extra steps and you aren't running Skyrim on a potato, ENBs are absolutely necessary to truly improve the visual appearance of your game. This is my unmodded game without an ENB. And this is what it looks like with an ENB. So, which one do I use? Well, Rudy ENB is easily my favorite that is available for Skyrim Special Edition. If your computer can handle it and you don't hate the colorful style, it makes a huge difference. Luckily, ENBs are generally pretty customizable, although that certainly requires more effort. And as I said, besides the bare-bone retexture mods that change people and landscapes, I seriously think the most crucial thing to improve the visuals in Skyrim in 2019 is an ENB. There are tons of different styles and plenty of different PC spec requirements for each of them. So if you're looking to get more into modding and really want to customize your visual experience, I definitely recommend looking into them more. However, if you just want something to plop into your Skyrim folder and try out, Rudy is my personal favorite. It really successfully blends fantasy color and contrast with a bit of realism. And if you installed all the landscape textures I've mentioned, the world of Skyrim looks like a dazzling painting. Also, please know that if you install Rudy ENB and it lags out your game, don't write off ENBs completely, because there are many more performance-friendly versions out there that you may be able to find. And if you happen to be using the standard edition, Rudy ENB is also available for that. But personally, I love Tetrachromatic ENB the most for the standard edition, because the colors and lighting are just so bright and so fantasy inspired. It's like you're playing Super HD Zelda. So if you're a standard edition kid, I recommend that the most. Just keep in mind, not all ENBs have to be bright. Some of them are more realism focused, some of them are much more dark and gritty. There are tons out there, so I definitely recommend exploring. I interrupt this program to bring you a sellout service announcement. Did you know I have a Patreon? If you want these mod compilations to be uploaded more and on a stricter schedule with more vigor and love and sensuality, consider becoming a patron. For as little as $2, you can give me $2. What a deal! Okay, back to the compilation. Next, we got HD LOD textures, which improves the quality of the partially loaded areas of the game you see in the distance. Skyrim has pretty terrible default LODs. They're super unconvincing, and the way they load in is so ugly. So if you care about the look of distant textures, this mod is very much worth downloading. A quality world map is a great little mod that provides a new highly detailed 3D world map with much more visible roads. Not only does it make the map look better, but it also really helps in finding the right path to your quest marker. Enhanced blood textures is an ultra simple mod. It pretty much just makes the blood textures look better and improves the blood animations along with a bunch of other little tweaks. It's super basic, but a very high quality mod. The next mod on the list is Diverse Dragons Collection. This is a terrific mod that includes a whole lot. First of all, it adds much more gorgeous textures to dragons. But not only that, it also adds a huge amount of visual variety to the dragons themselves. No more will you encounter all Skyrim has to offer by level 10. Now you're gonna see all kinds of super crazy looking dragons with tons of different abilities and their own visual effects. Honestly, having that much variety adds so much to the fantasy element of the game. It gives you 28 different dragons with unique skins, models, visual effects, and even attacks. So definitely give it a try. And last on this list, I have multiple detail-oriented texture mods that I highly recommend that add a lot without being too noticeable. I really recommend Rustic Animated Potions, which obviously makes all of the potions look way, way, way better. And since you're constantly picking them up, it only makes sense to retexture them to be a little bit less ugly. Also, Rustic Clutter Collection and Runes Clutter Improved are great retextures, covering a bunch of different pieces of random clutter that you find throughout the game. I would also recommend the Forgotten Retex project, which retextures a bunch of items that most other retexture mods overlook, but are still items that you're definitely going to encounter in the game. Of course, all of these are very specific. However, Skyrim 2011 textures are so bad that they desperately need an upgrade, so I personally think that they're worth installing. And also, definitely make sure you've got Static Mesh Improvement mod along with the Unofficial Skyrim patch installed, because both of these mods improve tiny little visual bugs that occur in the vanilla game. So I figured I'd toss them in there at the end, since they don't exactly make any grand visual improvements, but basically everyone who mods their game frequently has these installed at all times. So let me know in the comments if you want me to make a video giving you a massive list of all the tiny little retexture mods that I recommend, because trust me, there are so many of those. Obviously, for the sake of brevity, I didn't include them, because not everyone cares about specific things like, say, the quality of book covers. Also, please, if you download any of these mods and you enjoy them, endorse them on the mod page. Make sure to subscribe for more Skyrim content. I have tons of mod compilations to improve all kinds of things in the game, and I definitely plan to make more. So, if you're really into Skyrim, I recommend also hitting that little bell. Also, right on screen, you can find the playlist for all of my mod compilation videos, in case you want to peruse and see how you can improve combat, survivalism, all kinds of stuff. With all of that said, my name is Kubits, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.